Hello friends, welcome to 𝑀𝒊𝒎𝒃𝒐 Matrix video session 145. So basically in today's video, we will actually discuss about the time combo chart. Okay, so that is the formatting which are present under the time combo chart. Okay, so we discussed about the timeline chart in the previous session, and yeah, today we will discuss about the time combo. So what I will do is I will go to the Analytics Studio. Okay, uh, from here I will again deal with the same data set, not an issue. So here, what I will do is on the chart, I will just choose the time combo. Okay. And as you can see, what I will do is I will quickly copy this whole thing. Okay. So I will just paste it in my notepad. So that is the whole thing about this time combo. You need at least one field for time axis, at least two fields for y axis. Okay. So that's the requirement. One field for time axis and two field for y axis. Okay. So what I will do is I will go for the sum of amount, and maybe I will go for the average of amount. Okay. And I will go for the average of amount. And since one field is needed, and also a few other things I mentioned is date fields in ascending size order, dates from the same field. Okay, which is fine. So what I will do is I will go for the opportunity created and I will go for year month. Okay. Now this is how this whole thing looks like. Okay, if you see it over here, so basically you have this kind of bars which suggest the sum of amount, and you have this dotted line kind of a thing which is the average of amount. Okay, so now what I will do is I will go to this formatting, and what I will do is I will just rename this as formatting options under. So this is nothing but actually time combo. Okay, so let me just write it as time combo as of now. Fine. And these general settings are always the same, which comes under. Now what I would do is very quickly move to the time combo chart. Just like as you can see here, we have something called as stack bars. Okay, now nothing is happening. So it's the same thing which we did previously for the other one. So what we have to do is basically, if I customize the series, okay, I will have to ensure that both are bars actually. Okay, so what I will do is I will go for the average of amount and I will go for bar. Okay, so I'm going both for bars. And now if I go for stack bars, okay, so as you can see, it's stacked one after the other. Okay, that's the way this time combo is fine. So this is always the same thing which we did previously as well. That's fine. And now what I will do is I will go for the average of amount, and maybe instead of bar I can go for dot. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's the thing about customized series. If you don't want to customize the series, that's how it will look like. Actually in general, this is how it looks like, but if you want to customize the series, you can actually do that. Okay, so that's the thing about this one. If you want to show the points, you can show it. If you don't want to show the points, you can actually show it. Okay, so if you want to show the values as compact numbers, we can still do it, but yeah, as of now I can leave it as null. So these are all the same things which we had previously. We are not going through that much here. Let's say if I want to show the gap, as you can see, it shows the gap over here. Like, okay, for example, if there are some missing values, it will show as a continuous line. For example, if you see my cursor, there's a continuous line which you see. But if you want to denote the gaps, I mean, if there is some missing values and you want to show it as gaps, you can show it in this manner. Fine. So that's the thing about this one. So x-axis again the same thing. Basically, if you want, we can actually like show the axis, or we can not show the axis. And then you have something called as the reference line. So in the reference line, we have to give that particular year. So let's say I give it something like July 2032. Okay, so July 2032 is like July 2032. July is 27, July 2032. Okay, fine. So I will just write it as, yeah, so this is the October 2032, which is fine. Okay, and we can add further reference line. Then we have something called as the y-axis. Now here also I can add the same reference line. So what I will do is I will add the value as something like 50 million. I think that makes sense to me. So here I will just write. Okay. Now these are all the same thing. The condition formatting, the chart markers, trellis, tooltip, and legend. Okay, but that is not a big deal. And here basically, like I have added one reference line. Now we can add further reference line as well. Okay, so that's the way it works out. And similarly, what I have done is I have added the reference line over here as well. Okay, now of course on the x-axis you can add the predictive line as well. For example, let's say I add something like okay, July. So let's say I add something like 23, okay, 07, and what I can add is 07, predictive line is okay. So instead of today, what I can just write is I can just write something like, so this is more like a predictive line which you have something where there is certain things which there are certain data which you don't have and you want to predict that. Okay, so of course this is more of discovery part, but that is something which we can also map it over here. So we have something like a reference line where it is in current state, and predictive line is where you want to reach in the future. Okay, so that is somewhere it can be helpful for you. Okay, so these are all the colors and all, and as you can see, like when you are choosing for the predictive line on the x-axis, it will show you at the bottom, like you can't over somewhere in between because you don't have that option of choosing the value. But when it comes to the y-axis, you have that option of choosing the value. Okay, so that's the way it's done. And on the y-axis also, like we just have the reference line, and but on the x-axis you have that reference line and predictive line. Fine. And yeah, these are all same. The conditional formatting, the chart markers, trade is tooltip and legend. We won't walk through that much. Okay, but yeah, basically the main thing to discuss is about this one. Like on the time combo chart, you have the similar option of stack bar where you can actually stack the bar one after the other. If you want, you can show the values, you can show the decimal digits, show values. If you want to show the values, you can show it. Other, like I have skipped it in my case. Okay, if you don't want to show the points, like I'm showing the point, that is fine. Okay, and similarly you have different axis mode. What I can do is maybe very quickly, what I will do is I will duplicate this tab. Okay, and we will just check about the different axis mode which you have under the time combo. Okay, so maybe I will just quickly go for the time combo. Okay, and just like the way I did over there, I will just repeat the same thing. Now, as I've shown you, like here, basically, let's say if I go for dual axis. So if you go for dual axis, this is how it looks like. This looks a bit more cleaner if you see. The reason being, like if you go for single axis, because my average of amount is such small compared to the sum of amount. Like when it comes to the sum of amount, as you can see here, like it reaches somewhere around 85, yeah, somewhere around 86 million. Okay, but when it comes to the average of amount, it's actually somewhere below. Like it's of course uh, below 5 billion only, right? So that's the thing. Now when there's a huge parity, or when there's such a huge difference between two of the measures which you are selecting, it always better that you go for the dual axis mode. Okay, so how to decide whether we have to go for single axis? That is the answer for you. So when you are selecting the two measures, or it can be more than two measures, and if there's a huge gap between them, okay, then in category single axis may not look nice visually. So in that case you can go for dual axis, where, but again they have to be ensured that that measure, the legend is properly mapped over. That becomes very important, because that color efficiency needs to be there. And of course, at that case the heading also becomes important. For example, in this case, even if I don't go for the sum of an average hormone, that doesn't matter, because I have only one axis over here. Okay, so yeah, for example, under x-axis, yeah, if I don't want to show the axis, sorry, not this one, I think it's somewhere in the legend. Okay, give me a moment, let me just check very quickly which is that. So you have the number of decimal digits, show value as points, axis, that is fine. Show as gap, which is also fine. Customize series, it's fine. Show axis, this is the whole axis which is being shown up. If you disable the show axis, as you can see, the complete axis is coming over here anyhow. Okay, but like in the x-axis, like that complete thing of where if you see this July, October, that thing won't come up. Okay, I think this will be under y-axis, where if I don't want to show the title, yeah, that is what I was checking out for. So basically under y-axis you have the sum of amount and average amount, and if you go for single axis mode, I think you can still skip the title, which makes sense. Okay, but in this case, when you're going for the dual axis, definitely you have to ensure the axes are there, because it will help the end user or the client to understand like how to measure that particular part. Okay, now this is about the dual axis, and similarly we can have the multiple axis, so we will just quickly walk through that part as well. So very quickly, I will go for the time combo, and yeah, select the sum of amount, the average of amount, and the time axis I will go for the close date, year, month, which makes sense. And of course, if I go for this formatting option, the time combo, now I can go for small multiples. So when it comes to small multiples, this is also a bit cleaner. If you have more kind of measures, of course, if you have multiple measures, I think it becomes a little bit hectic to go for small multiples, but this is also another option you can choose for. Okay. And yeah, here also, like for example, if you want to customize the series, and let's say for the average of amount, if you want to go for bars, okay, I think in this case, of course, going one after the other, stacking it won't make sense. As you can see, this is disabled as well, because when you're going for small multiples, that anyhow won't make sense, right? So that's the thing about this one. But yeah, this is another way. But if you're going for small multiples, I think it's better you go for something like dot as well. That makes sense. Okay. So yeah, this is all about the small multiples, which makes it cleaner. Okay. And if you like, if you want to show it here, of course, showing it as concurrent doesn't make sense because you're going for fine. That is completely fine. Okay. So this is another option of small multiples. Fine. So yeah, this is all about this particular thing about this time combo. Okay, so as you can see here, as the name suggests, time combo, like you have different option of choosing a line and a bar, just like we had under combo chart. Okay, so just most of the features, it's just like the time combo is the fact that just you have something on the time axis. Okay, so yeah, this is how this all thing looks like. So yeah, just to revise of whatever things we have done. So basically when it comes to time combo, so on the timeline, of course, you need only one field, right, for time axis and one field for y axis. That's it. Okay. But when it comes to the time combo, the next part of that time and dates chart is that you need one axis, one field for the time axis, but you need two field for the y-axis. Okay, because as the name suggests, time combo, you definitely need two measures. Okay, to ensure that comparison is being done. And other than that, like definitely, as you can see here, the other options are quite similar, where you can stack the bus. To stack the bus, you have to ensure that both of the measures, okay, which you have taken into consideration, that has to be bars. Okay, then only this stack bar definitely works out. Okay, and if you want to definitely not show some of the missing values, you can actually go for that, where you can actually ensure that it shows as a continuous line. In this case, I'm showing as a gap, which is completely fine. Okay, and that gap will only work if you're going for a line. For example, if I go for show continuous line, it's showing a continuous line right now. But I think if I go for customized series, and if I go for sum of amount, maybe average of amount, if I go for dot, okay, in that case, it anyhow doesn't make sense if you're going for dot. I think in case of bar also, yeah, it won't make sense. Okay, so if you go for this line, then only it basically makes sense, right? So that's the thing about this one. And if we disable this option as well, stack bars, and then also if I go for bars, I think in that case also it won't make sense. Yeah, as you can see here. So this particular only makes sense, like show continuous line, if you are actually going for a line. Okay, if you want to show as gap, you can do that. Okay, that's the whole thing about this one. So you have the option of custom stacking the bar. You have the option of customizing series, like how you wanted a bar and a line. Okay, and same thing you have for the y-axis, where you can choose the reference line, and you can choose the predictive line. Okay, that will of course stick into the bottom part of it, and you can have a reference line on the y-axis where you can choose like in which position you want to show that particular text. Okay, that's the whole thing about this one. And yeah, other than that, legend and all, that is completely fine. That's the same as we had everywhere. You can add the tooltip for further information. You can have some playlist sections. So yeah, we can very quickly save it as formatting options under time combo. Okay, so let me just save it as formatting options under time combo, and I can definitely save it in my recipe dataset. Okay, so yeah, that is all the thing about time combo. I have walked you through the different variations of it, and yeah, that is all about it. So maybe in our next video, we can very quickly walk through the time bar as well as the calendar heat map. Okay, so yeah, that's it about this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, let's meet very soon in our next one. Thank you.